So hopefully the wind isn't messing up the video too much, but behind me here I have my 1996 Chevy Astro van that I converted last summer, and I am going to give you a tour and start taking some things out to get into hopefully a new build. So for the damage, this is where I got hit, and unfortunately it bent one of the pillars here, so that totaled the van. But from the outside, as far as modifications that I did, I installed a max air fan and I have 200 watts of solar on top of it. And then I also have a lot of stickers that I have collected along my journeys. And yeah, so this van actually, unfortunately, only has 90,000 miles on it. So it's really sad to see this thing go, as well as all the time that I've spent working on it. But for the inside, we will cut to that. Over here, we have my girlfriend Ellie.
Hello.
But for inside of the van, uh, first thing, I installed this diesel heater actually just about a month ago. Have that here, and the exhaust and the intake coming out under there. Under the bed, I have some storage, such as water, some tools, and oil and whatnot to fix the van. And then just adventure storage, like I would keep my chairs here and hammocks and slackline and whatnot under there. And then under here, I have my Blue Eddy battery that I use to power the van, which is routed to the solar panels. The wiring is a bit haywire, but I was planning on fixing that, but now it'll all just be ripped out. Moving on to the front here, it came with these really nice seats and a lot of like wood paneling. This is a cubby that I installed and was planning to fill these with the tokens from different national parks. Hopefully maybe I can use this on the future van build as well. And then the ceiling I wrapped with a tapestry, and that uh, board running across the top came originally in the van and has lights going through it that are really nice. This passenger seat has a swivel on it, which I would show, but the damage to the outside causes that to not work anymore. Moving on to the inside of the van, I have my kitchen area along with some more storage, which this is a little cabinet that or chest rather, that I built, which I will pull out and show you. So this is the chest that I built that neatly fits in that underside there. And I built this because I figured it would be nice to have another place to sit, not really keeping in mind my fridge that here I'll get into a minute, which I actually used mostly for seating, but this was very early in the build when I thought of this, so I keep a lot of my kitchen stuff as well as this my drill that I didn't have anywhere else to store that, and just other things like plates and some chargers. Then I have this nice fridge that slides underneath the bed as well. Holds decent amount, enough that I've ever needed. And then moving on over to the kitchen side of things, this is a nice piece of wood that costed me way too much. I should not have spent as much as I did on this piece of wood, but has a nice live edge on it, and I poured the resin on it. And going in that. So on my countertop, I built this little sink in here, which goes down to my gray water tank. And to take out that gray water tank, I um, just pull out my sink here, which has a little bit of plumbing coming down out of it, going into this crappy little hole that I cut into it. But that does the job. Or I guess I should say did the job. Hopefully you could hear me for that last little bit. I had the mic on the floor. And then I have an electric sink that is all plumbed out down here to my freshwater tank that I keep down there. And I keep 2 of these on board, which holds 10 gallons total, which has been plenty in between refill stations and whatnot. And a little cutout for incense in case sometimes the van will get a little stinky from cooking and just being in here without bathing for a while. Here I have my 110 outlet that is wired to that Bluetti, and then I have my 12-volt system here, which is wired to a fuse box underneath, which I'll show, which is then wired to the Bluetti as well. And then I have my diesel heater controller. On the inside of this door, I have my max air fan controller, which I can control up over here, and then as well as a carbon monoxide detector, a little light. And then on here, this is the controller for these lights going across here. This is a nice painting that my brother Kurt made for me when I was building out the van, which I love very much and will definitely be going in the new van. On here, I have my other side of cabinet, which has different hooks that I use to hang up cooking utensils. And then pull this water jug out, and it exposes my wiring, which could be better, but did the job, as well as my water pump, which I'm guessing came off in the accident because it was not like that before. All that being routed to my battery. And the thing that I love about this Bluetti power system, here, I will grab it out. So this is the battery that I use to power the van. A lot of people, I guess, don't like using these things and end up installing some bigger batteries. This has done plenty power-wise for me for what I do. I use a propane burner, so that comes with a lot of benefits on using electricity less, as well as this has everything in it needed to do solar, charging, anything that any of the other systems really can do. But the main thing that I really love about this is on those rainy days, if I'm in civilization, I can just walk into a Starbucks and charge this thing up within like an hour, and has worked out a lot on some times when there hasn't been a whole lot of sunlight. Another cool thing is I can control this thing completely from my phone. Yeah, not anyway sponsored by Bluetti, but one downside is this is a lot more expensive than the other systems that you can install. So as far as window covering and front end covering, for the front, I just have these curtains that velcro up across the top here, and those worked out perfectly fine. as well as I just hook them up across the front sides, and then I have a visor that I put up if I want the whole van. It's a little more tedious to set it up that way, but allows to have the entire size of the van rather than just this section, which, being an Astro van, there's already not very much room in here, and especially if there's two people, having that front end makes a huge difference. Also, I don't know why I have these on still inside. Can't really see, but anyways, to move on to the windows here, I have these cutouts that I made that are perfect inserts and complete make for complete coverage, without gaps, as well as these are foam and have some reflective on the outside, so they do pretty well at insulating the windows when it is really cold or really hot out, as well as that diesel heater really does an enormous difference. And watching a bunch of YouTube videos on it, I didn't really listen to them very well. Many people said to not get the 5 kilowatt one because it produces so much heat, and the 2.5 kilowatt would do perfectly fine. And I was like, oh, might as well have the extra heat. But even on the low setting, that thing bakes this van. Like, if it's not over 30, if it's over 30 degrees, forget using that thing and just put enough blankets on, because yeah, it got hot in here. So the bed here, you probably noticed some hinges on the back side there. This thing folds up for some extra storage, as well as has these nice gas struts that hold it up, which before I installed these, it was a huge hassle to hold this thing up, especially with all the bedding and pillows and everything on it. This thing is heavy. And yeah, so this is like my pantry area here, and then I just store clothes over here and plenty of space. And otherwise it's pretty useless space from the underside because this bed frame takes up a certain amount. I didn't install any storage on this top part because I wanted to be able to access things like in this bin if I need an extra blanket, or sometimes putting some dirty clothes in there kind of gets out of hand, honestly. But then I got an extension cord down there too, which I can actually open this window on the other side here and route it out there and down to my battery and have pretty much shore power, which is nice. Haven't really used that a whole lot, or I guess we'll be using it either. But yeah, my solar routes over here, down through behind and up to the roof, where I have a nice little waterproof thing. You've probably seen it if you've seen any other van builds, that routes the wires nicely down through the roof without having any leaks. Is it filming? Alright, so that wraps up the van tour. It is really sad to see this thing being taken apart and going. But I guess it's time to move on to some bigger and better things, and hopefully a really cool new build. And yeah, this thing's been with me through some hard times as well as many amazing adventures. So I guess now it's time to move on to tearing this thing apart. So the van is getting there. Got the top stripped and most of the main stuff out. But gonna grab all this wood to try and recycle into the new build. So just a matter of running things in to the apartment. So yeah. Got the solar panels down and the fan. Got the bed platform out. Today will hopefully be the last day of pulling things out. Got most all of it out. There it is. Everything out.